Hello, everyone, and welcome to My Type of Shit. This is the podcast where we talk about typology and other shit and personal things and whatever. And basically, you guys should like and subscribe if you haven't already. And hopefully, again, in the future, you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes or some other um, podcast platform. And basically, my name is Emily, and I am an INFJ. My social media is Pakoki. We have Shaun and Michelle here. Shaun is an INTJ. Michelle is an ENFP. Shaun, would you like to talk about yourself really
Greetings.
quickly?
I don't have much to say. These people know me by now. I'm
Yeah.
an INTJ. Follow me on social. We're talking
It's
about
all in the link.
ISTP today, so
Yep.
hopefully you guys are excited.
I
Michelle?
love how you came in with the greetings, just the way you said it, just was like greetings, Earthlings. like,
Yeah, that's what it is. This
but
is a
yeah,
foreign species. I'm not a part of this
right?
Greetings,
species.
Earthlings.
This needs to be
We are on a mission. I'm just kidding.
it needs to be made clear. INTJs are not we're not like the rest of these people, man.
Mm, You're a whole new class.
I'm a different species, all right? No, I don't know what that is. Is that I'm pretty sure that's the fourth wing in Enneagram. I'm not too Enneagram savvy, but there is something like that where it's like one of those wings, they think they're like, I don't know, they think they're different or something.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
that's
Who
that's a
knows?
four.
Continue on though, Michelle.
But yeah, I'm pretty excited about this conversation today. Um, Actually, just before this, we were talking about all different kinds of types, and I was like, man, are we even gonna be able to focus on this? But this is the type where focus is of the utmost importance. So we will try to keep this clear and concise today. And we did have a commenter ask for us to compare INTPs and ISTPs, what their core differences are. So that is going to be one of the things that we cover in this episode.
I hate that we're covering that because I can't say much on that. I mean, I can, but like you guys are gonna have to like start that out. Like, all right, let's talk about it now. What what uh what is the biggest difference you think? Is there even any similarities? I feel like the ISTP goes outside more. I could be wrong.
Well, I think one of the main things that makes them so similar is that introverted logic in the like core spot. Like that's how they view the world is through this lens of introverted logic. Does this make sense? Does this fit together in the scheme that I've already created in my mind? Like, is this clear? Is this accurate? These are the kinds of questions that they're asking first before they do any like neutral observations. Like they're constantly filtering anything that new that they take in through that lens, and in that way they are very similar. um I think one of the biggest differences is the level, um is like how willing they are to think about, um like how do I say this, like how willing they are to consider possibilities outside what they've already decided. Like an ISTP is going to be a lot less willing to consider new possibilities, whereas an INTP lives in a world of new possibilities.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, Michelle already started to talk about this, but I think it might be helpful to just kind of break down in Myers-Briggs terms.
Yeah, good idea.
So ISTPs, like if we're gonna think in Myers-Briggs terms, their first function is introverted thinking, TI. Their second function is extroverted sensing, SE. Their third function is introverted intuition, NI, and their fourth function is extroverted feeling, FE. Whereas in INTP and Myers Briggs, their first function is introverted thinking, TI. Their second function is extroverted intuition, NE. Their third function is introverted sensing, SI. And their fourth function is extroverted feeling, FE. So Myers Briggs terms, they both lead, like Michelle was saying, with introverted thinking, and their fourth function is extroverted feeling. Um, so Cognitively, I actually think that INTPs and ISTPs do look similar. It's just like how an INFJ and an INTJ could be confused when you're at a distance from them. And actually, I do find, especially with INTJ female friends that I have, one person in particular that I used to be friends with, people thought we were twins, like just in the way we talked, the way we like looked,
It's a
just
NI.
like so many yeah, exactly. So when you have like an ISTP and an INTP in the same room, they're typically interested in similar things and they're able to talk to one another on that TI basis. So they're going to have like this similar exterior to them. But when you get closer to them, like Michelle was talking about, ISTPs, and we kind of talked about this about ISFPs, both of those types really have trouble with uncertainty and they don't do really well with so many possibilities. They really like to know things, and they think that both of those types struggle because they have introverted intuition in their third spot in Myers-Briggs, so they think they're better at introverted intuition than they are. So oftentimes ISTPs mistype as intuitives, just like how ISFPs mistype as intuitives, because they both think that they're intuitive types. And I actually know someone that I interviewed that originally thought he was an INTP when we were interviewing, and I'm pretty sure I convinced him that he's actually an ISTP after we like kind of talked about it. And I think he does. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think he identifies as ISTP now.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure as well.
Yeah.
Because he would have told me, because I did change the title. So James, I'm just gonna say your name. If you do consider yourself ISTP, let me know. I'm gonna assume you're an ISTP now because I do think you are, but I am not the person to talk.
Right.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to their intuition, you got to look at what way their intuition is focused. An ISTP, like any lead NI, is going to be like, this is how this situation is going to pan out. This is how things are going to end. Like they have a very like matter of fact, this is how it's going to go kind of mentality, and they don't really consider many alternatives. You could try to show them you could try to show them these alternate possibilities, but if that alternate possibility is not more likely than the one they've already selected or come up with, they're going to disregard it completely. Whereas an INTP is the exact opposite. If you come at them with like one new piece of information, they'll come up with all these different ways to apply that piece of information and all these different ways that things could go. And they're much less likely to say this is how it's going to end. Like they're much more reluctant to have that kind of certainty.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Just from my dad, as an INTP, I can definitely see where my dad isn't quick to say what an outcome's going to be. Whereas the ISTPs that I've known in my life, they're a lot more set. And actually, I find, and this isn't always the case, but I do find that ISTPs are incredibly stubborn on if they think they've determined something, it's very difficult to shift them like from that direction. Like I feel like ISTPs are almost like a bull in a china shop. Like it's like you just like, and even just like that's actually I feel like a good analogy just because of not really being good with FE. So like if you put a bull in a china shop, it's probably gonna knock some things over and it's not gonna be socially acceptable. But also they're kind of like going for whatever. I don't know.
I have a
Like if
question.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question regarding the ISTPs mistyping as INTJs. Apparently that's a thing.
That is a thing.
I can see
I
it.
don't understand it.
Well,
I've never
it's
heard of it, and people keep talking about it.
It is, because just like how I was saying with James, and again, I'm sorry for calling you out, but I don't think it's a big deal because I know that you're probably not going to care. But it's a lot of ISTPs do mistype as INTJ, and I think it's just the same way how a lot of ISFPs mistype as INFJ. It's they can see the NI in themselves. And when they're reading a description of a type, because there's such a sensing bias out there, they're probably going to resonate with those qualities. Because I have found, not as much with ISTPs as ISFPs, but I do find that ISTPs can come off as intuitives.
I completely agree. And I've actually met ISTPs that when I first met them, I thought that they were INTJs. They just have that, like, especially if they like the intuitive kind of conversations, like the metaphysical, the, you know, thinking about this some strange thing that doesn't really seem to fit with reality, because they do like having those weird philosophical conversations, but only to a point. Like, they're going to get to a point where they don't want to talk about them anymore, but they do like talking about them more so than, say, someone who's an extroverted sensor lead, or even like an introverted sensor. They're much more into those kind of conversations. And so, I mean, especially if they're around an intuitive person, such as like me, for example, with lead extroverted intuition, I could see everyone being an intuitive so long as they let me have those kind of conversations with them. So I can definitely see that happening.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because I've done it before.
I guess I just don't know enough of them. It's kind of the same thing as the ISFP we did. I don't know a lot of them. I do know, I can speak on one ISTP that I know.
Mhm.
I grew up with him from like middle school. I remember we were really close for like a little time period in there. It was actually really cool. We would like we played we would like when I was home from school, he was one of the kids that would skip a lot, so we would play Call of Duty together, like way back. But then shortly after that, it was like 7th grade. He always got in a lot of fights, and then he ended up in jail for like he ended up in like juvenile, whatever, for like he just had a shithole life. Like, I don't know, he was like a delinquent for a while, and now I follow him on Snapchat, and like he's like, all right, put it this way, if I could only have one person on Snapchat, I think I would keep this guy. And the reason
Okay, why? Why?
the reason for it is like his stories, like they're just so real, right? It's just so real. Like like everyone else is like literally everyone else on all socials is like they're like bullshitting life, and they're like, putting on some kind, like there's not like they're putting on some kind of image, you know what I'm saying? Like you could see it's kind of filtered. Like there's like a filter that goes on to social media, and that's okay. I like it to some degree. It's art, whatever. But this guy's stories are just so real. Like literally, it's just him. The same thing every day. Like it's not like he wakes up and is like, "Man, I should do something different." It's like he's at work in his car, and he's smoking a blunt. Like he's always doing drugs. He's either smoking weed or he's downing like alcohol. And I'm like, this is what life really is. Like what this guy's doing is the most accurate depiction. He's just
That's not his life. That's not my life.
No, but he's what he's doing, literally what he is showing, like because you can see it. Well, you can see you can see sensory wise out of this ISTP, right? Because you can see it, right? He's committing acts of self-harm, and like all people love self-harm. It's like we went to lunch today, and like everyone was excited because we got like these free cookies or whatever, or like these free ice cream sandwiches, and really like that's just an act of self-harm. Like I took mine, ate half, and threw the other half away because like I knew it was just doing damage. But like that's the thing, is like everyone loves it. Like they like things that hurt them, and so this guy is just, I don't know. Maybe I'm going too philosophical.
I don't think it's self-harm, but
I'm just gonna throw out there that a lot of people are not gonna agree with you. That
I don't care.
I already can
eating
tell.
a cookie
Unpopular
like
opinion.
the victim thing in the INFJ video.
Unpopular
I
opinion.
mean, I see what you're saying and I see where you're coming from with that. And to several degrees, I do agree, but you can't deny the pleasure in doing that. Whereas, like,
Yeah, but it's like
when I think self-harm, the first thing that comes to mind is like hurting yourself with, sharp
yeah, that's what they
objects.
do. That's what people do. Like they harm themselves. Like, okay, how do I say it? Like they go for pleasure now, but pain later. Like that's what self-harm, like tattoos, like
But that no,
yeah,
that's
they're
no,
wearing
no,
they're
no,
physically wearing their
no.
pain. Like tattoos are an accurate depiction of self-harm because it's like you're hurting yourself to get those endorphins. You know what I'm saying? Or like piercings, like it feels good now. You know what I'm saying? Like people will like
But
that shit.
it doesn't hurt that long though. That's not even that big.
Yeah, and the cookie doesn't give you a stomachache for very long either, but people like
No,
it.
it doesn't necessarily give you a stomach ache. I'm eating popping cookie right now, and it's not giving me
You'll
a
feel
stomach
it.
ache.
It'll hit you. It's all good.
Okay,
No,
so
it's not.
It's all good. I'm not worried about it.
those of you listening right now, tell us in the comments, is eating a cookie self-harm?
Yeah.
Is
Anyway.
That should be a meme.
Eating sweets is definitely a version of self-harm.
Shaun, I feel like you
No,
could
I
just have
agree.
your own like meme page of stuff that you say that people
Jesus,
like
that's-
take to the extreme.
I might turn my channel into that. But anyway, so but I think it's all my philosophical bullshit aside, okay? Beyond all of that, like and beyond what this guy actually does, I just think like he's so real about it. Like he doesn't filter anything. I feel like the ISTP they're so like they're actually giving you the depiction of reality. Like
Yeah.
they just don't bullshit. They don't bullshit. They don't sugarcoat it.
I
They're
mean,
giving it to you how it really is. And that like he could just I don't know, it's just real to me. I'm sensing something genuine about it, you know?
To you, yeah, to you. I just don't.
I mean,
agree with you. I agree with you. The fact that I mean,
all
I
these
do
other
think
types are up in the clouds. Like I know me, I like
no,
every other
no,
like
no.
like ISTPs and ESTPs, ESTJs, or any of the STs, they're so in reality, I feel like. Like I don't know. They might not have
Yeah,
accurate
but
models, but they are
I
in
don't
the
think,
real world.
but no, I mean they are in the real world in a physical sense, and yeah, I don't know, but actually I find that, and I'm not trying to be offensive. I actually really like ISTPs. I get along really well with ISTPs, but it's just I mean, this is just a clear pattern I've seen with almost every ISTP I've ever known in my life, that they are very delusional in a lot of ways. They think that things are a certain thing, like a certain reality, when they're not. As far as like not the physical world, but like as far as like the intentions of other people. um and that might be a generalization, but I do know what you're talking about. Like I think that ISTPs have a great ability to be present. My cousin, who's actually 9, I believe she's an ISTP, and it's very, very interesting seeing a child that has those qualities. And she's very inquisitive and also very, she just is so fascinated by the sensory world, and that's all she's like. She's drawn to those kind of things. She's drawn to science, and like she's already like doing what's it called, coding at 8 or 9 years old, and that's incredible to me. But I also find that ISTPs are also extremely dramatic people, and I don't think that is talked about a lot, but they are some of the most dramatic people I've ever met in my life.
I could see like yeah some kind like they could like maybe get mad or like if anything they're dramatizing reality. I feel like I don't know. I still feel like from the at the core there's something about the real world that always is with them. Whereas
Yeah.
I think INFPs, INTJs, like all these other types, they're too in their heads, like way too in their heads. Like this type is so it's just everything I see is so real. I love it.
Yeah,
You're
they
getting
are
exactly what.
Yeah, but they are also in their heads though. But and maybe that's because you don't have as much experience with them, but to me I have seen every ISTP I know has been in their heads. And I think it's because it's like this obsessive quality that they have. Yeah, they can be very real and out there and like gritty and grimy and stuff like that. But they also have this like ability to focus so much and be obsessed with something and then like blow it out of proportion or like dramatize it and make it
They
super
can do that.
extreme.
I agree with that. For sure. Definitely.
And it's kind of hard once they kind of like corner themselves, and it can be kind of hard to like get them to see reality for what it is, even though it seems like a contradiction because they are so much kind of, like you were saying, present, but also they are withdrawn.
I mean, I think they
I
can
don't
get
know.
angry. I think ISTPs can get angry for sure, and they could definitely like blow something up if they want to, or if I don't know what, I don't really know. They're confrontational. I'd say these are much more confrontational types than you would think. I guess I think it's the extroverted sensing. Like ESTPs are confrontational too. More that they don't really fear going up to things or getting into things sensory wise. Like me, I'll just try to numb my sense. You know, the first thing I do every day when I get home from work, I just sit in a dark room and just lay there for like an
Oh
hour.
my gosh.
Just hope, like, just to like think, like, all the lights off, all the sounds off. You know, ISTPs, they want to go places and do things. I feel like more than a lot of other introverted types. They'd be open to the real world more than other types.
Michelle, what do you think?
Yeah, we need the third in here. We need a third opinion.
It's okay. When you guys both have your ideas going on, you don't really hear each other. You just like
Yeah.
hear your own argument,
I've
and
noticed that's
anything
with
else
NI. That's how it
says,
is.
like
If
whatever the other person says, you just completely disregard
Yep.
because like you have to get your point out there.
No, it's
And
not that. It's how NI
No,
works.
I don't think so either.
It's
I mean, I'm listening to him.
Listen.
Yep.
Here's how it is. Here's how. No, yeah, bullshit. Listen.
Okay, stop. You're doing it to me right now. I called you out, and now you're doing that exact same thing I called you out for.
Michelle, I'm trying to make a good point about NI. Is like I noticed with INFJs, and me and the INFJ friend I was talking about in the INFJ episode, like we had like a 2-hour argument about like what went wrong in this match. It is like neither of us were hearing each other. But like as soon as I kind of seen his point of view, I realized like mine was structurally different than his. So like the core, the fundamentals of our arguments were different. So all the bricks we were building on them, of course, we're just going to dismiss because they don't go along with our base. You know what I'm saying? So if my view of ISTPs is different from the ground up than Emily's view of ISTPs from the ground up, our NIs are never going to clash because all the bricks built on top are incompatible. So unless I go to the root and see exactly what she's talking about from the root, then you know what I'm saying? We're never going to be on the same page.
Exactly.
And so that's why we're instantly dismissing that's a flaw in both of our types, what the other person says.
And I'm over here like, I'm just gonna mute and wait for you guys to get this.
No, but I'm saying though, what's your opinion on ISTPs though? What do you think?
So I definitely have a lot of opinions about ISTPs. I do see what you're saying in that they can be quite just in the real world. They don't really like put up a facade like a lot of people do. But one could say that their image is to have that kind of like rebellious image. I mean, like
I could agree with that.
the stereotype of the ISTP is like the bad boy, like the guy on the motorcycle who like comes to class like 30 minutes late and leaves lunch for like 2 hours. You know, like they just have a certain stereotype about them. Which is kind of what you're speaking to.
Yeah.
And they do have this other side of them. Well, like we were talking earlier, like when they get that NI thought in their head, when they like have their quote unquote understanding of something, they will not really be able to be open all the way to hearing other possibilities. So they can go down a path where they do get in their head about something. But I would also argue that every single person gets in their head a lot, but it's like how we handle the way that we're in our heads. Like how do we get ourselves out of our heads? We each have our different methods of getting outside of ourselves. And I would say that pretty much any type has the capacity to be very in their
Well,
head.
especially an introverted type, but I'm talking about, I feel like I'm talking about a different phenomenon here. Like maybe not, maybe in your head isn't the exact point I should have made, but it's something about like the way that these, like I'm thinking of specific types that just they live in their heads, or they're like, I'm gonna use it. I don't want to use it, but I gotta use it because I hate when people call me this and it's false, but I gotta use it. Delusional. These other types, they're delusional, whereas I feel like the ISTP, they're just too in the real world to be delusional. I don't know.
No, I find ISTPs to be some of the most delusional people I know.
I just don't know. I guess we have different models. But I'll say this: I did know another ICP, and he did seem kind of quirky, in some respects. Or maybe their body language is weird. I guess nerdy ones are different than like. I guess I have to meet a nerdy one
Yeah.
because there are smart ones. I know there's a lot of smart ones online, and those are kind of like the programmers you guys were talking about before, and stuff like that. Maybe if I met one of those, my model would be different.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I personally, and let us know in the comments below what you think this person's type is, but I personally think that Vladimir Putin is an ISTP, and I was just showing them before this. I have a Vladimir Putin calendar that my sister got me because it's like a meme between my sister and I.
And you want to know somebody else who's an ISTP that I think most people who are listening can also know who we're talking about. This is like one of the most well-known bad guys in anything that's come out in like the last 10 years, and that is Thanos from the Marvel series. He is 100% an ISTP.
Well, I'm not super familiar, but isn't that the one that does the invisible stuff or whatever?
He's the guy with the big purple chin.
Yeah.
That's got all the lines on it. He's like, basically, he gets it in his mind that like he is going to save the universe, and the way that he's going to do that is to get these 5 infinity stones, and he's going to snap his fingers, and half of the universe, he's literally just going to kill exactly half of the universe, because if he doesn't, all of the universe is going to die. And he makes so many sacrifices to make sure that this happens, and he's completely fair about the way that he chooses which half of people die. And then when he's done, he destroys the Infinity Stones so that nobody can undo it and destroy the work that he just did to save the universe. And so basically, like, no more harm can come to the universe. Basically, he just has like a very, like, he got his idea of what he needed to do, and literally nothing that came in would change his mind on what he had to do. And he even like sacrificed his favorite daughter in order to like get one of the stones. So I don't know. I think that kind of like speaks a little bit to what we're talking about. I mean, you could consider that delusional, and in some ways it is, but in other ways it's just very realistic. Like,
How is that not real? Like that's real shit right there. I don't
I
know.
don't consider that delusional.
They are some real. These are some real people, man. Like I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I can read some of these other famous ones. We got Clint Eastwood. Everyone loves him. Which this guy seems to be one of the more safer calls. Okay. Steve Jobs. I don't know about him.
I don't agree.
What do you think?
What do you think Steve Jobs is?
I think he's an NTJ. Either an ENTJ or an INTJ.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I can see. Maybe, but I could see that Steve Jobs is an ISTP.
I feel like I'd be more fascinated with him. I don't know.
I could see. I mean, I could see ENTJ. There's a few types I could see, but I don't think INTJ from him. I don't think INTJ.
I think Elon Musk INTJ. I don't think Steve Jobs, right? I don't think Steve Jobs. When I hear INTJ, I don't think Steve Jobs. I'll tell you that.
Okay, well, I don't think Steve Jobs would be an ISTP. That seems very low on the likeliness list for me.
I have to watch one of his movies. You know they have like 50 of his movies?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could personally see ISTP from Steve Jobs, but I'm not 100% about that. So it would be interesting to see what people think.
If I learned anything from this episode, is that we needed an ISTP on this episode to have this
Right.
episode.
I mean, I probably could ask someone right now and they could probably come on. I'm just kidding.
We got Snoop Dogg. We got Bruce Lee. Scarlett Johansson, which I'm pretty sure already got tested as another type on this same damn site. Ashton Kutcher, which I'm pretty sure we heard last fucking week was on this fucking site. So these sites are bullshit. But yeah, we know Clint Eastwood. What else do we have here? Tom Cruise. I don't know anything about Tom Cruise.
I don't know.
Well, this isn't that site. This is on a different Tom Cruise. We got Michael Jordan.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's really hard to just like spit out like celebrities that we all know but we don't know well.
Right.
Christian Bale.
As Batman, yeah.
I don't know. I can't.
Oh
I can't
shit! We got Vladimir Putin on the list.
That's what I said.
I know. That's why I got hype.
I mean, I definitely do think that Vladimir Putin's an ISTP. I actually think that he's a really good example of an ISTP as well. And actually, I think it's, I mean, I know in the US we have like certain views on Russia. I don't really share the same views that a lot of people share. And but I do find that Vladimir Putin is a very, when we're talking about someone that has like this like kind of uncouth confidence about him, like he's not trying to be anything other than himself, but also he's very persuasive and very I don't want to say this in necessarily a negative way, but I definitely could see it in a negative way, but manipulative, socially manipulative.
Maybe.
And I think that ISTPs do. I mean, I have seen that with ISTPs. They are very. I actually have found that ISTPs can be very emotionally manipulative. And this isn't about Vladimir Putin. I don't really know. I obviously don't know him personally, but when they want to be, they can be very emotionally manipulative.
I just don't know. I can't speak on it, but I believe
have
you.
Examples, but I don't know if we want to talk about them.
You know what else I have? Melania Trump.
Melania?
Melania Trump.
I don't know.
United States of America First Lady right now is an ISTP. How does that make you feel?
I mean, that's not a bad thing, but I also don't know if she is. And personally, I'm going to throw it out there that I'm not a huge fan of the presidency. So,
yeah,
when I say a huge fan, if I had a,
Larry Bird, Wayne Gretzky. I don't know any of these people, so I can't really say.
Yeah.
Do I know any of these? Nah, not quite. Amelia Earhart? I don't really know her well. I guess she's the... Oh, Game of Thrones. Oh, Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones who?
Oh, do you want to hear what characters they got here as ISTPs from Game of Thrones?
They probably are. I don't know if they're accurate.
You're just expecting them to be wrong. Like, since when did you turn so cynical? You have no faith in anyone else's typing ability, do you?
No, that's not true.
Just say it.
Just say it. No one's better at typing than Emily is.
No, that isn't true. I definitely don't know.
All right, well, we got Bronn. Bronn from Game of Thrones.
Oh, I could do that.
I'm not fully opposed to that typing.
No, I'm not opposed to that typing either. Actually, that's something I could.
I would have thought he's more of an extroverted sensor lead.
Yeah, same.
As like an ESTP, because he seems like completely lacking in FI in any regard. But
yeah.
I could see him also being ISTP. It's not totally out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I agree.
Wait a minute. We got Sanders I can't say it.
Sandor Clegane?
Sandor
Yeah.
Clegane.
I mean, I feel like
I-
he's much more likely to be an
Yeah,
ISTP.
I also see that as well. So maybe, yeah, you're right.
And then we got Arya Stark.
Yeah.
I can
agree.
see that. I agree.
She, I
Damn.
think, is a pretty like. I mean, for the way that she is in the show and the way that she is in the book, I feel like she's a pretty classic ISTP.
Yeah, I feel like actually Arya, when we're thinking about like a fictional character, I think she is a very good representation of an ISTP.
Exactly.
That was all they had on that. They had Haymitch from the Hunger Games. I had to look who that guy was.
Haymitch as an
Yeah.
ISTP.
Who's
Yeah.
that? Who's that?
Just a-
He's the guy who won from District 12. Like
I don't remember who that
he's the
is.
blonde guy played by Woody Harrison.
Oh,
Or
I don't think
Harrelson.
so. No. I don't think so. I think he's an extrovert.
I don't know if he's an ISTP.
Damn, so 0-1 on the Hunger Games, 3 for 3 on the Game of Thrones. All right, many traditions.
Potentially 2 for free.
2 for 3 for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, you guys are throwing Bron completely out of this.
No, it's I'm not really, but also, yeah.
Hey, I'm not gonna even pretend to claim that I'm the best at typing. I just like have opinions based off, the information that I've formulated over the time that I've spent studying it. So I could be wrong.
Also,
Typing?
As much as anyone could be wrong.
It is very difficult to type
It
fictional
is.
characters in general.
I find it difficult to type anyone. Period.
Well, it's also it's difficult, especially to type like celebrities as well, because we're seeing a persona of them, and we're like seeing them playing characters. And especially someone that's a very good actor would be able to like portray different personalities.
Okay, but you cannot deny the TE leadness of Samuel Jackson. Like if you watch any like interview from him, like his TE-ness is just like so overwhelming.
Wait, what is
That's just,
Samuel
like,
Jackson?
his approach to acting. I don't know, but he definitely leads with TE. Like, I don't know. I'd have to watch him more to finalize what I type him as. But basically, like, what made me well, no, we shouldn't talk about this because we're talking about ISTPs, and TE dumb is like nowhere near. I said we were gonna have a focused conversation.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
And here we go down these tangent rabbit holes. Sorry, ISTPs, if you're listening. We're not doing it on purpose.
The people like it though. I think they need the variety in their life. Do ISTPs need variety, you think?
I don't know. I think ISTPs, when they like something, they kind of get obsessed with it, and they kind of like. I mean, I think they're definitely open to things, but they're not as much like an INTP, where you would see like with an INTP, I could totally see them getting into like new hobbies like very frequently. Whereas like an ISTP, it would be more focused on like maybe a certain amount of hobbies that they have. I might be wrong about that.
Fair
What do you guys
Fair enough.
I mean, personally, I feel like an ISTP is the most likely to have like a kind of regularity to the things that they're doing. Like they would just find something that works and kind of stick to it unless something better comes along. From my experience with them.
Well, I do find that ISTPs do very well under structured environments. That like maybe to them, especially Myers-Briggs, as like, considered like a P type in Myers-Briggs, but I do think they do better when there is structure. Even though they have like a kind of a stereotype of being messy and stuff, physically messy sometimes, I think they do well with rules in a lot of ways. Even though like they can break the rules a lot, they do well when things are kind of laid out for them. Like this is what they need to do. I don't know if that makes sense.
I could see it.
Especially as children. Like this is something I've noticed about my cousin, is like and I feel like this is such an ISTP thing to do, is like her mom, who I think is an ESFP, she would write down a list of like chores and stuff that like my cousin would have to accomplish, or like we would both accomplish before she would come home. And I don't think I mentioned this, but I was like my cousin's nanny for like part time when I was in Seattle. So I was over there almost every day. Um, but anyways, she like would have a list, and if something wasn't on the list, but I told her to do it, she would be like, "Well, it's not on the list." Or this says for you to do this, not me.
That
And
is
like
a
she is just very much, I don't know. I mean, I also know she's a child, but it's just kind of interesting where she is like, this is not like what this is not what I'm supposed to do.
I would say that ISTPs are among the most fiercely independent of the
Yeah.
types.
Yeah. They
yeah,
don't
I
really
can
like
see
be
that.
told what to do. Like I did find with her, my cousin's name is Ciela, but like with Ciela, I would have to like I would have to like make things a game or like make them fun in order for her to like want to do it. Like we would do like it would almost be like competitive in a way where I would be like, "Oh, let's try to get all of these things on this list done in like 15 minutes." And I would like set a timer, and then she would be way more likely to do it than if we were just like, "All right, so this is the stuff you need to do." She's like very resistant to that. Um I don't know. But that
Um,
also might just be a child thing.
I
yeah,
was gonna say I'd probably be the same way.
Yeah.
Personally.
I was gonna say they're really down the middle here. 5.4% rarity, right smack dab in the middle. Uh,
Mm,
they're like eighth or ninth, so I don't know. Standard type. They're the second most rare sensor according to the data. The only one more
I
than
believe
them
it.
being the ESTP.
I can see that.
But other than that, nothing
I'm
notable.
still like ESTPs are like the least common. That just
Yeah, of all the sensors, yeah.
it's hard to see, but
I think there are maybe some ESTJs that seem ESTP like,
mm,
or even like ESFPs.
yeah.
It is kind of weird though. Maybe because there's I don't know the way the ESTP is. It's just
Yeah,
no
it
say.
would be a scary world if there were a ton of them. If they were like the most dominant personality type, can you imagine the world we'd be in?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna get to the pros and cons here. ISTP personal growth. Um, maybe reading this will actually give me insight because like I'm clearly not educated as much as I should be. Anyone in the comments, if you have anything to add to this type, something we overlooked, please add it. But we're gonna go run down this pros and cons here. Nearly all ISTPs will recognize the following characteristics in themselves. They should embrace and nourish these strengths. They have an ability to focus and become one of their immediate environment. This ability allows them to be great athletes, dancers, and musicians. They have an innately graceful connection with the physical world. I like how they use graceful.
I agree. I mean, I think another stereotype for ISTP is the ninja. And I think
I like that. I would
I
agree.
because I think that that would be something that they would be drawn. Not all ISTPs. I'm sure you have very like overweight, lazy ISTPs too, just as you would with any type. But I think if they got into that, they would be very good at it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. They are highly in tune with their physical surroundings and therefore have well-developed aesthetic appreciation. They appreciate beauty. If they are so inclined, they may develop the ability to control the physical world in some form of art expression and become artists.
I can see that. I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
there are a lot more ISTP authors and artists out there than people would like to admit because they're like, oh, that's not a quote unquote creative type. But I think they very much so are.
Oh, I think so as well. I
I
think
would
they
never
are.
have thought that. Like I would really have never thought that.
Well,
Exactly.
every ISTP that I know is very into music and like some type of tactile or like tactile like thing where maybe it's like, I don't know.
I
Like
think.
like
Oh, sorry.
oh, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I think Ernest Hemingway was like typed as an ISTP or an
I've also seen
ESTP.
him ESTP. But
Yeah,
either way, it's on that they're sister type, so
yeah, they're a mirror type, so
yeah.
They are exceptional troubleshooters in emergency situations. I could see that big time.
heck yeah.
They
Wait,
can.
what did you say?
They are exceptional troubleshooters in emergency situations.
I would say for the most part, but there
Better
are
than I would be.
times I think for the most part they are. But I mean, and I guess you can say this for basically any type. I do find that ISTPs have an initial extreme reaction
I do.
to things.
Well, yeah, maybe they have like a switch, and that's what this is referring to. And maybe that switch is weird to certain types are like, man, what's going on with him? But like maybe that to them, like, obviously they're pointing it.
No, you actually you're right. Now that I think about it, you're right. Because
I didn't
they
finish
go
this,
into
so there's like a mode. I agree. It says they
yeah.
can quickly take in the current situation and apply logic immediately to take steps to take steps that control the problem.
Yeah.
Since the ISTP's use of logic is based on their personal experience, their ability to troubleshoot will get better and better as they gain more experience. For this reason, ISTPs who are mechanics, technicians, and computer analysts, for example, often achieve guru status after they have been working in a field for a long time. I could see that even with the ESTP too.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And actually the thing that you said about they do things like they develop like logic out of like doing something or like having experienced something. I've found with ISTPs if you want to teach them a lesson about something maybe they've not had direct experience with, you have to teach it with like you have to use like terms that they would be familiar with. So for example, my cat Fleur um accidentally scratched my cousin Ciela as she was like Ciela was trying to like bring her down the stairs and Fleur was just kind of scared for some reason and she like was trying to jump away, but because Ciela doesn't really have much experience with cats, I mean she really loved her, but I was like telling Ciela, yeah, you need to just let her go because she's gonna like she may accidentally scratch you. And sure enough, because like Ciela wasn't like really so used to cats, she scratched her accidentally, and Ciela made a very extreme reaction to that. Like she was very like went into drama mode where I do find that ISTPs have kind of an extreme reaction about things. And yes, she is a child, so it was even more extreme. Um, but how I explained to her because she was like starting to say, "Oh, Fleur's evil, like Fleur's like, all of this." And I was like, "Okay, Ciela." And I like had to like I had to say like, "What would you do if say you were with your friend and you like I was telling her an experience that she had before where she accidentally hit her friend and what if your friend went on and said, "Oh, Ciela's evil. Like I don't want to be friends with Ciela now." I was just trying to explain that, yes, Fleur accidentally did this to you, but that doesn't mean that Fleur is a bad cat. It just means that she did that. And after I kind of explained that logically to Ciela, she was able to come back from that and like kind of relate it back to something that she experienced.
Fair. Anything to add to that, Michelle?
No, not really.
This is the last one on this. I'm just gonna keep banging through these. They're very sensual and earthy people. They usually have a good deal of sex appeal and attractive sensuality. It's a hard word to say. Sensuality. I don't know. I could see it, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
I think it depends on taste.
earthy
I
people, sure.
I think that that's just a trait that people with extroverted sensing can have.
Yeah.
Just given that they tend to give full attention when they give attention,
Mm-hmm.
and they do care about their external presentation. especially coupled with extroverted feeling, even if it's not like the top. Like they still care about how they dress and come off.
Well worded, well worded.
Someone did actually comment on one of my videos about how they believe that ISTPs are the most attractive men.
Yeah.
Like when they are attractive, they're very attractive. And that's interesting. I do find with ISTPs, they have a certain look to their eyes that
You talking about
not
Vladimir?
Ah,
Yeah, she's talking
no.
about Vladimir. That's
I
what I
mean,
think.
the picture for this month, I mean, he was sitting shirtless
Yep.
by a
I
pool or
mean,
like on a lake
She
or
been looking at him for
something.
hours.
all of basically a lot of them are shirtless photos of
She
him.
talking about Vladimir's eyes, guys.
No,
All right.
no.
ISTPs who have developed their extroverted sensing to the extent that they can regularly take in information in an objective fashion rather than strictly to support their own way of life will enjoy these special gifts. They have attractive and compelling personalities and are well liked and accepted by most people.
Mm.
I guess a developed one, yeah, but I feel like a lot of them aren't developed. Is that? I don't know. I
Well,
don't
a lot
know.
of people aren't developed. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
No,
They're
but there are theories that certain quadras, like in Socionics, there are theories that certain quadras are more drawn to self-development. That's just a side note.
sure.
And betas are not like the highest up there. I mean, sure, there's exceptions, but they're not the most likely to get into self-development.
They're usually quite intelligent and can work through difficult problems. Yeah, these are definitely like on the developed version. I don't think I've met one like I'm telling you, there's these guys. Yeah, ISTPs online. I need an ISTP friend online. Someone hit me up. They understand the benefits of close relationships and understand how to support and enhance these relationships. And then they can handle just about any task that they are presented with. I could see all this. If you're well rounded, maybe. Alright, and now into the potential problem areas. Everyone's favorite. The only time Emily gets excited when we talk about the cons. I'm kidding. Actually, this is my favorite part, though. Well, it's easy to talk about cons, though. The ISTP gets stuck in a run, only does those things when they are known and comfortable with the ISTP.
Yeah, I think this is exactly like what we were talking about earlier. Like they can just find things that they know and like and kind of stick to them.
Yeah, I don't know. Stuck in a rut. That's an interesting one. The ISTP resists and rejects anything that doesn't support their own experimental understanding of the world. If there's a conflict between their own way of life and something that they encounter, they don't perceive that something in an objective sense. Rather, they reject it to avoid conflict and to preserve the sanctity of their inner world.
I mean, this is exactly what I was talking about earlier. I know I just said that with the last point, but like one of the first things I
Sanctity.
said about them is the way that like when you bring new ideas to them, if it doesn't fit with something that they've already thought of, or if it's not better than the one that they have right now, they will completely reject that. So if that's just like on a normal everyday basis when we're just talking about ideas, like that makes a lot of sense that would, if they got unhealthy or underdeveloped, like they would just do that all the time. Because the same thing with the ISFP, when they trust their intuition, they're not going to be very open to things that contradict that intuitive idea of how things are going to play out. And so that makes a lot of sense. Especially being TI, it would make them even more that way.
Yeah.
Because TI is, an
I find
organization of your views and everything.
I find TI itself to be hard to deal with, but I find TI users to be cool people.
I mean, from experience with ISTPs, when you're trying to persuade an ISTP of like to have a different opinion about something, or like not even that, but like I don't want to like talk specifics, but I did know I was very close to an ISTP in college my sophomore year, and there was a kind of life-threatening situation that this ISTP was encountering and kind of putting on themselves. And it really took us like probably like it was something extreme. I want to say like 6 to 8 hours of like sitting down and talking to this ISTP to even get them to somewhat change their mind about something.
I can definitely see that being the case. And something else I was just thinking, which is kind of related to weaknesses, but like with ISTPs more so, I think, than any other type. Well, maybe INTPs as well, though INTPs would be a little bit more open to understanding what you're saying. When you're talking with an ISTP, you want to make sure that you understand what they're saying completely. So there's a lot of this back and forth, like, this is what I heard you say. This is the interpretation I have from that. And clearing that up before you respond. I think that's a really good approach to having a constructive conversation with an ISTP, especially if you disagree. Is just a lot of clarification. Like, I've found that I need to do that a lot with ISTPs, but you know how NE can be, it just runs wild with whatever it hears. So
Mm-hmm. We got, they
Yeah.
choose to surround themselves with people who support their own way of life and reject people who think or live differently. This is an unhealthy one.
yeah, I mean, I think that goes right along with the point before that. Resists and rejects anything that doesn't support their own understanding of the world, choosing to surround themselves with people that support their way of life. I mean, those things kind of are basically the same thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
could see that. I could see that. They may become overly paranoid about social organizations and institutions trying to control them.
Like
Yeah,
I said, the bad boy
That's such a
stereotype.
that's a meme.
well, and
That's a
I
meme.
also find that ISTPs dabble in conspiracy theories as well. Like
Yeah, I
they're
could see that.
they're some of the more prone types.
For sure, yeah. Definitely, yeah. This is like a meme. Like, that's literally a meme right there. That last one.
Yeah, it is.
They may unknowingly or uncaringly hurt people's feelings.
That's
think-
true.
I think
Not
any
so,
thinker can
yeah,
do that.
not so
But they
surprising.
have a very specific way of doing this. I guess I've had experiences with
You gotta tell me how they do it. I need to know.
Okay. Well, okay. I mean, I don't want to say the story because it's just I don't even remember all the details of it, but the ISTP I knew in college, he was, I don't want to say unhealthy. He was just young. He was like 18 or 19 when like I was 20. Like we were young, and he was one of my like good friends, but he also was like very, he would use, like, for example, he had depression, um and he would kind of use that to justify certain things, certain actions that he would do. And there was this one time that I basically told him we were going on this trip because I noticed that he would kind of follow us around a little too obsessively sometimes, like more so, like a little bit more extreme than a friendship. And I wasn't very comfortable with that. And like I tried to let him know several times. I mean, he would just say some weird things to me and my sister too. Like he would say, "Oh, I just like I mean, he would like sit at this table with us in the commons, which was our food hall, and he would be like, I feel so lucky to be sitting with both of you. Like, I feel like every guy is jealous around me to be sitting with you guys." And it's just like so weird, especially if someone that you regard as like a friend to be saying that about you and your sister. And like he just like would describe a little too graphically like things that he thought about. Um and just kind of in inappropriate moments too. And so I tried to have boundaries with him because I get along really well with ISTPs. And in Socionics, we're the activity relationship. So the activity relationship, you're like very much on equal playing fields because you're looking for that person's third function, which is, well, that's your first function and that's their third function and vice versa, at least in Myers-Briggs. And anyways, so we got along really well, but also it became very draining, and like to the point where I was like, okay, you need to take a step back. And I told him, okay, please don't follow me during this time. Like, I just want to walk with this one other person. Please don't come with me. I know you want to, but please don't walk with me. And we were like on a trip. And I was just trying to set these boundaries for him. And he decided to walk with us anyways. And I like got very frustrated with that. And basically, he justified everything that he did. And I'm being very vague. By saying that it was depression. And then he ended up going to the hospital when we were on that trip because he was being very dramatic about it. And like it ended up being really nothing. And then he ended up, well, it wasn't nothing, but he ended up coming back. We ended up coming back from the trip and he went even more extreme about it and was like trying to accuse people that were in our immediate surroundings of like being sociopaths and like being like out to get him. And he was like, he had this like vendetta and he was like going behind people's back and like talking to the faculty advisor and like trying to get people in trouble. And he also like basically stalked my sister in the parking lot. And it's just like I mean that's very extreme and that's such a I mean that is not a good representation of all ISTPs for sure, but I've definitely seen the negative aspects of an ISTP and they can be very frightening just like any other type. Every type has a different flavor of like these kind of maybe negative tendencies, but I just find with ISTPs, they're so, I mean, they can be very intelligent people and they can come up with very elaborate stories that seem very realistic and try to convince people of those stories and them not being true. And then kind of going with that until they're kind of forced to stop because maybe the people around them see that the story's unraveling, but they will kind of take it down. Like they will run with that story until there's like nothing left for them to run with. I
Fair,
don't know.
fair. All right, I think we'll let the people discern whatever they need to discern from that. I mean, you explained the situation well enough. There's only a couple more cons here. We're pretty far in at this point. We got they may be completely unaware of how to express their inner world to others in a meaningful way. Meaningful.
No, I agree with that because I mean from the ISTPs that I have experience with, they try to very like objectively express what they're thinking. And they try to use very like SE objective real world things like to compare to and kind of express what's going on. But because of that, because it's so matter of fact, it can actually lose the meaning behind it because they're just talking about things at that point, and the things lose the attachment to them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so I can definitely see that, and I definitely have had experience with them struggle. And like it's just they try to say exactly what they're seeing and experiencing, but by doing that, they kind of take away the attachment to what's going on, which can be a good and bad thing, but again, can make it kind of lose the meaning.
Fair. If pushed beyond their comfort level to form commitments or emotional bonds, they may reject a relationship entirely.
I
Sure.
can see that. Yeah.
And also mention something about how they may be completely unaware of the type of communication that is desirable in relationships.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me. So they might have some kind of relationship problems. Who knows? Under stress, they may show intense emotions that seem disproportionate to the situation.
Yeah.
That is literally what we were talking about, Emily.
Yeah.
Right, that's the drama you were talking
Yeah, yeah.
about earlier.
So I
Yeah.
don't know like what the hell that is or why that is, but
Well, their subconscious personality would be
An ENFJ.
yeah. So their ENFJ side, like a normal ENFJ would express their emotions regularly and effectively, But think about an ISTP who's flashing an ENFJ kind of personality. How would that come off? It would be
Yeah.
kind of intense.
Yeah,
It's like
that
it's
would be
almost like a caricature of an
Right.
ENFJ in a way. Like the whole beta quadra is known for being the most dramatic quadra. They are
Is
known
that the
for
truth?
they are known for being like the very theatrical quadra.
I
Like
mean, SEFE, come on.
I definitely relate with that. Like, I mean, I feel like my more recent videos kind of show more of that side of me, but like I can be very theatrical and dramatic in a lot of ways. And
Who,
I
you? No. No. No, I can be dramatic too, just in different
it's
ways.
a different way. I
Yeah.
like ENFP dramatic, but it's a different flavor.
Yeah.
All right. I think we should wrap it up. I mean, that was our ISTP episode. I wish I knew more of them. I do.
Yeah,
But I think there's
ISTPs
a
talk to us.
I think there's a nerdy. You know, actually, when I emailed Emily to do this podcast, I think a lot of the people who emailed us were ISTPs, or a couple of them were,
Oh, really?
to be guests. Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll have to have an ISTP guest. I think having like a board of ISTPs would be such an interesting conversation. Just like throw a topic and let it get all Socratic in there. I think
You're
that'd be
hyping this
Yeah.
up. You make me
I
want
do want to let people know right now, as far as ISPs go. I mean, as far as maybe that one story that I just said, I like ISTPs, and I don't want it to get twisted, and I don't want to feel I don't want ISTPs to come at me, because I do really like ISTPs. You are not one of my favorite types, but you're not like you're closer to be wanting to like being a more favorable type to me. I don't know.
It's okay, Emily. It just like you have a lot of negative experiences with a lot of types. So like
Because I just have a lot of experiences with a lot of types.
I think you're way too worried about hurting people's feelings. That's what I think.
exactly.
I think everything you say is fine until you start leaving the disclaimers and the sorries
Right,
and the shit.
exactly.
Like, just hurt their feelings. Just be okay with it.
Okay.
Spoken like a true INTJ. But with that, thanks guys.
Yes.
for
Yeah, thank
listening.
you.
Until next
Like
time.
and subscribe.